Hey guys, Brandon from Meglio Knives. I'm going to be showing you my fast and dirty way of sharpening knives. So I prefer whetstones. I prefer Naniwa Pros because I'm lazy and impatient and I don't have to soak these. These are splash and go stones. I use a squirt bottle, not a bucket, and I use starter stones to get my slurry right away. It's not the stone that sharpens the blade, it's the slurry that's created. It's the water with suspended stone inside of it that the blade's able to glide over. You're not applying a bunch of pressure to the stone. You are simply moving it along the stone at a consistent angle. So, a lot of people get intimidated because they say, well, how do I know if I'm using the right angle? It's a great question. So, shortcut I use is get a Sharpie. Run it along that edge, and then you'll get that silver secondary bevel. It'll be black. Then, as you make your passes, you're not going to damage your whetstone by having a little bit of Sharpie ink in there, but you will be able to see when you check that edge and you see which parts are now exposed as silver and shiny. You'll be able to see where along that edge you've been able to remove the Sharpie. And that'll help you determine if you need to raise up the angle or lower the angle, whatever you need to do to modify. Things to avoid: hitting the edge of the stone, digging the tip into one particular spot over and over again. These are fluid movements. Some people, you know, when you get the real specific, I'm a polisher, it's what I do, I'm very picky about my edge. You'll see some people say, well, I only want to go in one direction. I think that's probably fine. If you want to do that, great. But the most important thing, I think, when it comes to using whetstones, that I think gets overlooked is the grits. So right now I've got a 3000 grit whetstone right here. Everybody wants a super high polish, but it's not really the best way to do things to say, well, I'm going to start off on a 5000 grit stone. Because if you get an edge that's not cutting tomatoes, and then you put your knife on a 5000 grit stone, you're going to be there forever, and you're not going to be happy with the end result. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start off at a lower grit. I would say 600 to 1000 is fine. You might even go lower. Most people are shocked to find out I didn't sharpen anything above 220 grit for the first 7 or 8 years I made knives. Because if you sharpen well, and you sharpen with good technique, have a consistent edge on there, and just hone at the end with some leather, you'd be shocked at how sharp 220 grit can be. It's not to say a higher grit isn't better, and it's not to say that a sushi guy won't see the difference. But you can get very sharp at very low grit. Again, 3000 grit is what I'm working with right now, but the 3000 grit stone is not where I want to be finding the burr, okay? Now when I'm sharpening, what I'm trying to find is that overhang of steel. I want the edge to, if you can see a point, it's dull, okay? This is the worst. It won't cut. It's rounded. How do I fix this? Well, you need to flatten these sides until you create a burr that overhangs. That overhanging steel, that's the burr, okay? Developing that burr is something we do at a lower grit. You never want to be trying to find the burr at 3000 grit. It's going to take you forever. You're going to start to round the edges. It won't be nice and strict. These higher grits are for polishing, not for the removal of material. So start off at a 600, start off at a 1000, be consistent. This is where the majority of your work will come into play. Once you develop that burr, then you can see how consistent the burr is along the edge. So again, Sharpie first. Make sure you've got that angle dialed in, so that way you're going consistently along the whole edge, and then develop a burr and make sure you can feel that burr all the way up and down the edge. You don't want any chips or any low spots that you're going to not be able to do anything about once you move up. You want to be able to progress once you've got the first burr 100%. Once you've got that first burr 100%, that's when we do the incremental gradual increasing the grit of the stone. Okay, so if I have a 600 or 1000 grit to start, I develop that burr. Awesome. Once I get that burr, now I know it's ready to move up in polishing. Now, what I like to do for my own personal is I'll go up to 3,000. So for me, it's easy. If I start with 1,000, develop a burr, 3,000, and all I'm doing is a light polish, I might do less than 10 strokes aside because I'm just breaking off that burr with a real fine polish. It's just the very edge, guys. You're not removing a lot of material. So I'm going to make that burr mostly come off, and then I'm going to move right onto leather. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that 3,000 is the best grit for everybody. In fact, 3,000 might be high depending on who you're talking to. I know sushi guys that will use 3,000 as their maximum grit because while it cuts sashimi excellent, it also can cut through tempura rolls. And for sushi guys that don't want multiple knives on the line, this is a great dual sharpening stone. So, again, got my Naniwa Pros, starting with 1,000, moving up to 3,000. That's great for home use and even sushi. Now, if you are wanting to progress up to 5,000, 10,000 and above, you can, but realize the burr was created at 1,000 and you're moving up those grits very incrementally. My increments are 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. Now, after 10,000, I move to diamond compounds that I use on the Strop. So I stop using stones after 10,000 if I want to go higher than that. And those you can order in microns. And the highest I will go to for micron is 0.25 microns, which is equivalent to 600,000 grit polish. Again, totally not practical for the home user, but you can use that if you would like. Now, once you get it up to the polish that you want, that's when you're going to want to remove the burr completely. Okay, so you might have seen people cut paper and stuff like that. When you cut paper, you can hear it. It'll be a nice... When you start hearing the going through the paper, you still have a burr that's on that edge. It's not as polished as you would like it to be. It's probably very close, but you haven't knocked the burr off completely. And that's why we highly recommend the leather strop that our good friend AJ over at Redbeard Originals made. Alright guys, so what I have right here is my Redbeard Original leather strop right here. On the website, they're very light colored leather, and they start to look more this peanut butter look after time. It's going to get those oils from your hand, and then also I recommend mineral oil on it as well. I use several diamond compounds. I like Gende's diamond compounds. Really all you're going to do is you're going to spray the suede side first and rub all that diamond compound in, and then you're going to spray the smooth side with the finer grit diamond compound, and then you're going to have the best of both worlds. You're going to have something like what I use, which is an 8,000 grit polish right here, and then a 600,000 grit polish. Again, I'm sure there are going to be knife makers who disagree with me that it's such a rapid jump, but again, this is just to make that edge buttery and to knock off the burr. This isn't for removing material. This is the final stage of simply making sure that edge is crisp and polished. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold it taut, okay? So you're going to get something to hook it onto. I have mine on an eye hook right here, and then you're going to get that edge and you're going to lead away from it, okay? Now, you can see I'm not having to be super strict with how I have this because it's leather and there's some give to it, okay? This is going to provide great results. As I go against it, I can feel the feedback through the handle. You know, I'm holding it pretty taut, not so much that I'm really yanking on it, just enough so that it only has a little bit of give, and I'm just polishing that edge, just making it nice and buttery, okay? So I'm sticking with the suede first, being careful not to dig the heel or the tip into the leather. I don't want to cut my strop. You can see I got a nice amount of travel on there. Then I'm going to just flip it over, and I'm going to use the smooth side. And you can actually, you can hear the diamond on this. It's just making a nice little shh. Again, you can feel the feedback. It's nice and polished. It's just making it buttery, making sure that when we use it, it's going to be real crisp. It's going to go through anything we want with much less effort. And of course, a sharp knife is a safe knife, and a sharp knife also takes less effort to do whatever we want to do. So that was using the Strop by, again, AJ over at Redbeard. Okay guys, so I know you guys have seen the paper test and everything, and it's important to be able to see that, you know, your knives can be very sharp. But more than just can it cut paper, the thing we're trying to achieve with the higher grit polish and the Strop is how buttery it really can get. And with these finer PM grade materials, with the finer carbides, you can achieve higher grit polishes because the carbides are smaller and they're finer. So you can really make these things lightsabers. So the things you should notice when you do a really good job is when you cut through, it's not tearing through. It's very quiet as you cut through the paper. You're not applying a lot of pressure. And these are the kind of results that you can get once you start using a good leather strop. Stay away from hones. Every time I hear a hone, it hurts me deep inside. I made these knives. Please respect them. Don't use hones. They mess up edges. They're not faster to use than a strop, and you're going to get better results with a strop. So please go get yourself a strop. Learn how to use a stone. Take your time. It's a patience thing. If you spend time with it, you will get good at it, and it's something I'm passionate about. The last thing I want is for somebody to get a knife of mine 6 months after they have it, they've been using it, abusing it, they might have dropped it a few times, now the edge isn't what it once was. It should be easy to bring it back up to where it was. And if you don't send it back to me, I don't want you to have a knife that's not 100% sitting in your guys' drawer that you're unhappy with. I want you to be able to appreciate, enjoy, and have your life be better, which is what the whole goal of this company is. So please, learn how to sharpen. It's fun, it's therapeutic, it's cathartic. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's anything that I missed here that you guys would like to know about. Maybe there's a technique I blew by too fast. I'm always down to answer questions. But once again, I thank you guys. I really appreciate you. Our leather strops are on the website, so they're available to purchase right now. And we have our chef's knife, the one that we're using right here. We have the next order of these up for pre-order on the website as well. And all the proceeds of that go to Sanfilippo syndrome, which is a terminal illness for kids. So if you can, we'd really like your guys' help in helping those kids who have that. It's a devastating disease, and we're looking to do some good in the world, and we can always do that together.